The darkness swallowed me. One moment I was guiding my flashlight along the jagged walls of the cave, and the next, a shower of gravel and stone rained down around my feet. My heart pounded, my hands scrabbling for grip. I was trapped, not just physically but emotionally too. I realized then how much my relationship with Matteo had boxed me in, how I had let him define my limits without questioning anything. "Focus, Isabella," I whispered to myself, voice trembling. My limbs ached, but I dug deeper into the soil to create a small tunnel. Air trickled in. I had to breathe, had to survive. Once free, I didn't feel relief. Instead, I felt clarity. My life had been like this cave, beautiful, mysterious, but ultimately confining. Matteo's charm, his constant promises of protection, were nothing but a gilded cage. I would no longer allow him to define my path. That evening, back in my apartment, I opened Matteo's work laptop. He claimed it was for investment analysis, but I knew enough about his patterns to sense secrets hiding beneath the spreadsheets and charts. A secured communication window blinked on the screen. Encrypted. Oddly labeled. Offshore bank. Curiosity, the same trait that had led me into caves, pushed me forward. I decoded the communication line using the tools I had learned from my technical courses. And then my stomach sank. Matteo had taken out a massive debt, over $1 million in my name. And it wasn't for legitimate investments. It was to bail out Fiona, his ex-client who had gone bankrupt in the Caribbean. The logs detailed transfers, collateral agreements, and contingency plans. Matteo's plan was clear. He would leave me holding the bag while he walked away with his bonus. I slammed the laptop shut, my hands shaking. Betrayal was a heavier weight than any boulder that had fallen in that cave. "Of course," I muttered, my voice low and raw. He's always had a backup plan, just never for me. I knew who I had to call. Finn Brooks. My brother's longtime friend. The man everyone in his profession described as sharp, meticulous, and relentless when it came to uncovering the truth. Finn had a reputation for finding what others tried to hide. And now I needed him more than ever. I sent a single message. "Finn, I need your help. Matteo has gone too far this time. It's in my name, and he's planning to ruin me financially. Can you meet?" As I hit send, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. The cave had trapped me physically, Matteo had trapped me emotionally, and yet now, for the first time in years, I was determined to break out. I would survive this, on my own terms, and with someone I could trust by my side. I didn't sleep that night. My mind kept replaying every smile, every casual conversation with Matteo, every subtle manipulation I had ignored. It all added up now, like cracks in a cave wall I had refused to see. The truth was cold, calculated, and entirely designed to trap me. At first light, I met Finn at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of the city. He didn't even look surprised when I laid the laptop on the table and showed him the decrypted communication logs. His eyes narrowed as he skimmed through the files, silently taking in the magnitude of the deception. "This is extreme," Finn said finally, his voice low. "He's basically siphoning your name to cover someone else's mistakes. If this goes public, you'd be responsible for the full amount." "I know," I said, my throat tight. "And he thinks I wouldn't figure it out. I can't believe I trusted him so blindly." Finn leaned back, thoughtful. Blind trust is expensive in your line of work. And apparently in life too. He gave me a sharp look, one that reminded me why I'd always respected him. Finn didn't sugarcoat. He assessed, he calculated, he acted. I felt a mix of relief and fear. Relief that someone else could help me navigate this. Fear that I'd been so completely blindsided. "So, what do we do?" I asked. "We start by documenting everything," Finn said. "All communication, all transfers, all evidence. And then we create a digital trail showing this was deliberate. Intent matters. You can't just say, 'He tricked me.' You have to prove it." I nodded, feeling the first spark of control in weeks. For the first time, I wasn't reacting, I was strategizing. "Can we recover anything before he notices?" I asked, my voice sharper than I expected. "Yes, but carefully," Finn warned. One wrong move, and he could hide assets or claim it's all legitimate. We spent the morning compiling emails, transaction records, and Mateo's offshore account summaries. I felt like I was excavating a hidden cave system, tracing tunnels that Mateo had thought only he knew. Each new document was another layer of betrayal exposed, but also another tool I could use to defend myself. As we worked, Finn looked at me once, and there was a flicker of something unspoken in his eyes. Concern, respect, protective calculation. I realized then that this was the first person in this mess who wasn't just watching me suffer silently, he was actively fighting for me. By late afternoon, we had a complete dossier. I closed the laptop, taking a deep breath. He won't know what hit him, I said, my tone more confident than I felt inside. Finn smiled slightly. Good. Because you're not just surviving this, Isabella. You're going to come out on top. And you'll do it with someone who actually has your back. I allowed myself a small, grim smile. For the first time since the cave-in, I felt a sense of direction. Mateo had built his trap carefully, but I had found my way out, and now, with Finn, I could not only survive the fallout, I could strike back. The next morning, I returned to Mateo's office under the guise of routine file organization. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, but I barely noticed. They were just background to my racing thoughts. Every step I took felt like walking along the edge of a cliff. I had a plan now, a purpose, and Finn's steady presence lingering in my mind gave me courage I didn't realize I had. I opened his main filing cabinet with care, avoiding the drawers he frequently checked. Mateo was meticulous, which ironically made it easier for me to track him. Patterns left traces. My fingers brushed over folders labeled with clients, offshore accounts, and investments. Most were meaningless, sterile paperwork, but one folder, tucked beneath a stack of innocuous contracts, caught my attention. Inside were printouts of transfer receipts and bank memos, confirming everything I had seen digitally, and more. Each entry detailed payments, disguised as consulting fees or property investments, all funneled in ways that implicated me if questioned. My chest tightened, a mix of anger and disbelief, but I forced myself to focus. Finn's words echoed in my head. Intent matters. Proof matters. Precision matters. I carefully photographed every document with my phone, making sure to preserve the metadata. I whispered to myself, almost like a mantra, I will not be trapped. I will not be silenced. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from Finn. Are you still on site? I replied quickly. Yes. Found more. We'll need to meet later to cross-check. Minutes later, I heard footsteps, someone approaching the office. Panic flared, but I quickly slipped the documents back where I found them and composed myself. The door swung open, and there was Mateo, smiling, unaware of the storm brewing just beneath the surface. Early morning, Isabella, he said casually. Didn't expect you here today. I forced a neutral smile. Just catching up on files, I said, keeping my tone even. He nodded, completely oblivious to the evidence I now held. Good. Make sure everything is ready for my call with Fiona this afternoon. Of course, I said, my voice calm, even as my mind raced. Every word he spoke, every movement he made, now felt like fuel for the plan Finn and I were building. Once he left, I exhaled sharply. My hands shook slightly, but I felt alive in a way I hadn't in months. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to Mateo, I was anticipating, strategizing. I had unearthed the evidence, documented it, and had Finn ready to act. I grabbed my coat and headed to the cafe where Finn was waiting. He greeted me with a quiet nod and a raised eyebrow. Found anything interesting? I slid the phone across the table. More than interesting. Enough to make him sweat, eventually. Finn examined the photos and documents carefully. Perfect. Now, we build the narrative. We need everything laid out clearly, his deception, your name, and his plan to leave you liable. One mistake, and he could hide assets. I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle over me, but also a fierce surge of determination. Mateo had underestimated me, and that was his first mistake. Finn was not just my ally. He was the steady hand keeping me from falling into the trap I had narrowly escaped in the caves. And for the first time in months, I allowed myself to believe I wasn't just surviving. I was reclaiming my life. Finn and I settled into a quiet corner of the cafe, far enough from the usual morning crowd that I felt we could speak without fear of eavesdropping. The evidence I had uncovered felt heavier than my backpack. It was a tangible weight of betrayal, deceit, and stolen peace. But now, with Finn beside me, it felt like a tool, a weapon even, to carve a path out of the chaos Mateo had created. "Show me everything again," Finn said, his voice steady, professional. He pulled his laptop out and started organizing the photos and screenshots I had taken. "We need this airtight. Every transaction, every date, every account connected to Fiona has to be bulletproof." I nodded, spreading the printed documents across the table. "It's all here. His signatures, the offshore accounts, the fake transfers in my name, even the communication logs." He left a trail. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from adrenaline. He thought I was oblivious, that I'd never notice. Finn studied a printout and frowned. "This is worse than I thought." He set it up so that if anyone looked superficially, it would all look legitimate. But if you trace the timeline, it's clearly designed to funnel liability onto you. I clenched my fists under the table. I can't believe he'd risk everything, my name, my career, my finances, just to cover Fiona's mistakes. My voice was tight. I trusted him. Finn looked up sharply, his gaze piercing. "That's exactly why he underestimated you. But you're not powerless, Isabella. We now have leverage." I leaned forward, my pulse racing. "Leverage? You mean using this to make him fix it?" "Partly," Finn said. "But more importantly, we're going to make sure he can't hide, can't shift assets, can't leave you holding the bag. And we'll make sure the authorities see the full extent of his actions. Every forged document, every fraudulent transfer, he won't be able to deny it." I exhaled slowly. "And what about Fiona? She's going to be implicated too." "Collateral exposure," Finn said bluntly. "Not our focus. Our focus is your safety, financial and emotional. She'll deal with her own consequences. Right now, we build a clean case that proves Mateo's intent and the risk he imposed on you." I nodded, feeling a strange mix of relief and determination. For months, I had felt trapped, emotionally, professionally, and now financially. But for the first time, I had a plan, a strategy, and an ally who understood the stakes as well as I did. Finn slid a folder toward me. "We start with documentation, then tie it to the offshore accounts and his corporate filings. Once that's solid, we approach the regulatory authorities and any legal channels we can use to freeze his assets. Then we expose him publicly, carefully, strategically. He won't see it coming." I felt a spark of defiance ignite. He underestimated me. He underestimated us. Finn smiled faintly. "Good. Keep that fire. It's going to be our advantage." For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of control. The caves had trapped me physically, Mateo had trapped me financially and emotionally, but now, step by step, I was breaking free. And this time, I wasn't alone. The moment I stepped into Finn's makeshift office, really just the spare room in his apartment, I felt the tension shift. This wasn't casual strategy anymore. This was the point of action. The evidence we had gathered wasn't just papers and screenshots. It was a weapon, precise and ready. Finn sat behind the desk, laptop open, already running a series of simulations. "We start by freezing the main accounts," he said, eyes scanning the screen. "If he moves a single dollar after this point, we have proof he's attempting to evade responsibility. It's simple, swift, and legally binding." I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting. So, no turning back now. Mateo will know something is wrong. "Let him," Finn said firmly. "He's the one who miscalculated. He thought you'd stay oblivious. We're just correcting that assumption." I nodded, trying to keep my emotions in check. For weeks, I had felt like I was suffocating under the weight of betrayal. But now, with Finn guiding each step, I could breathe again, strategically, deliberately, and with a growing sense of power. He handed me a tablet. This is your first communication to the bank and the offshore accounts. It's encrypted, professional, and irrefutable. You're officially notifying them that these transactions were made without authorization. Once they acknowledge it, the freeze is automatic. I took the tablet in trembling hands. And if he tries to fight it? Finn's gaze was unwavering. Then we hit phase 2. We have everything documented: timestamps, communication logs, the encrypted correspondence. Phase 2 isn't optional. It's inevitable if he resists. And believe me, he will. I let out a long breath and tapped the confirmation. Within moments, an automated email pinged back. The accounts were frozen. Just like that, Matteo's control over my finances, the very thing he had engineered to trap me, was gone. A small smile flickered across my face. He's going to freak out. Finn chuckled quietly. Understatement of the year. But remember, we stay calm. Calculated. Let him panic while we stay on track. I couldn't help the surge of adrenaline. For the first time since discovering the debt fraud, I felt like I was actively dismantling the trap instead of struggling inside it. I can't believe how much he underestimated me. Underestimated us, I said, voice tight with resolve. Finn leaned back. That's why he lost before this even started.
He thought you'd be passive.
You're not. And with every step, we're proving that. As we moved into phase 2, compiling reports for regulatory authorities and preparing the public exposure, I felt something I hadn't in months. Hope. Not just survival hope, but victory hope. Matteo had built walls around me, tried to confine me in debt and deception, but now, each document we submitted was a hammer striking those walls down. By evening, the first ripple had spread. Banks confirmed freezes, emails had been logged, and regulatory contacts had received preliminary reports. Matteo wouldn't be able to hide. His web of lies was unraveling. And I wasn't just standing by. I was taking control. For the first time, I realized I wasn't a victim of circumstance. I was the architect of my own liberation. And Finn? He was right there beside me, every step of the way, eyes sharp, guiding, protecting, and somehow becoming more than just an ally. The next morning, I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the last 24 hours, the freezes, the emails, the rush of adrenaline. But Finn's calm presence was grounding. He knew exactly what to do next: take Matteo out of the shadows completely. We need a controlled release, Finn said as he spread files across the table. Regulators, key clients, and a select press outlet. Timing is everything. If we stagger this properly, he won't have room to maneuver. I leaned over, scanning the documents. Each piece was damning: transaction logs, encrypted messages, bank confirmations, and my own annotations connecting the dots. Seeing it all laid out like this made me shiver. It's everything. He won't be able to deny any of it. Finn nodded, eyes focused.
Exactly.
But we have to remain precise. No emotional emails, no leaks to the wrong contacts. Professional, factual, and legally airtight. We don't give him a single excuse. I picked up my tablet. So, I'm the messenger? You are, Finn said. Because it's your name on these accounts, your evidence, your authority. He won't be able to gaslight you. And he knows you're the one who can bring this down. I exhaled, steadied my hand, and hit send on the first batch. Regulators, the bank, and legal counsel. Within minutes, confirmations pinged back. Each one a silent victory. Matteo's empire was starting to crumble. Next, Finn said, pulling up his contacts. We make it public, but carefully. The press needs facts, dates, and verification. No fluff, no sensationalism, just the truth. You've always believed the truth is powerful. Now it is your weapon. I swallowed hard, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration. I thought I'd be too scared to do this. I admitted. You were scared, Finn said gently. But that doesn't stop you from acting. Rebirth isn't about fear. It's about clarity. And you've got it. You're not trapped anymore, Isabella. I sent the final batch to the press. Articles ready for release, with all documents attached securely. I could feel the shift already. My hands no longer trembling, my chest no longer tight. I was reclaiming my life, piece by piece. Finn placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. You did this. All of it. And you did it brilliantly. I glanced at him, a mix of gratitude and something deeper in my chest. I couldn't have done it without you, I said quietly. You were right there the entire time. He gave a small, knowing smile. That's what allies do. And maybe sometimes more than that. As I sat back, watching the digital confirmation emails arrive and seeing the first regulatory inquiries, I realized this was no longer just about exposing Mateo. This was about reclaiming my power, my independence, and my dignity. For the first time in months, I felt truly safe, truly alive. And Finn? He wasn't just my protector in this battle. He was becoming my partner in a life built on trust, honesty, and shared purpose. Mateo's shadow was finally lifting, and my future was wide open. The morning after the press release felt surreal. My phone buzzed constantly, emails, texts, and phone calls from regulators, clients, and even journalists I barely knew. Mateo's empire was unraveling faster than I'd imagined. Each notification felt like a small explosion of freedom. Finn sat across from me, calm as ever, a coffee in his hand. You're going to need this, he said, sliding the cup toward me. It's going to be a long day. I nodded, gripping the cup like an anchor. It's overwhelming. I keep expecting him to walk in and laugh it off, but nothing. He's silent. He has no control anymore. Finn's eyes softened. Control is an illusion. You've taken the power back, Isabella. And now he's forced to face the consequences of his own deception. I scrolled through the latest emails. Legal teams scrambling, banks freezing accounts, offshore funds being investigated. Each update was a victory. And then, a message from Mateo himself appeared in my inbox. I hesitated, thumb hovering over it. But Finn leaned over and whispered, "Don't engage. Let the law and evidence speak." I obeyed. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Mateo had built his empire on lies, and now the truth was collapsing it from the inside out. The next hour was a whirlwind. Investigators confirmed the fraudulent debt in my name. Fiona's failed ventures were tied back to Mateo's manipulations. Clients called to apologize for not seeing it sooner. And all along, Finn remained steady, guiding me through the chaos. "Isabella," he said at one point, "look at yourself. You didn't just survive a cave-in. You survived him. You've rebuilt everything from the inside out." I let out a shaky laugh. I never thought I'd see the day when I'd feel free. Really free. Finn reached across the table, taking my hand. "You've earned it. And you're not alone anymore. I'll be here, always." Something shifted in me at that moment. For months, maybe years, I'd been chasing security that wasn't real. Mateo's betrayal had been the wake-up call I didn't want, but needed. And now, with Finn beside me, the future felt tangible, grounded, and safe. Later, as the news spread and Mateo's associates began distancing themselves, I felt a sense of closure I hadn't realized I craved. The betrayal, the fear, the debt, it all had a name now. The past. And I wasn't letting it define me anymore. Finn and I sat quietly, watching the chaos unfold on our screens. I leaned my head on his shoulder, feeling the steady rhythm of his presence. "Thank you for not letting me face this alone," I murmured. "You'll never face it alone," he replied softly. "Not now, not ever." As the day wound down, I realized the most important victory wasn't exposing Mateo or clearing my name, it was reclaiming myself. And with Finn, I knew this was only the beginning. The cave had trapped me once, but now I was truly free, and I would never let anyone cage me again. The sun rose over the cliffs, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose. I stood on the edge of the canyon, wind whipping through my hair, and for the first time in years, I felt completely present. No fear, no deceit, no hidden agendas, just clarity. Finn walked up behind me, carrying 2 steaming mugs of coffee. "Morning," he said, his voice soft but steady. "Thought you could use a cup before we head into the field." I smiled, accepting the mug. Thanks.
I...
I can't believe how different it feels. Everything feels honest. Open. He nodded, his eyes scanning the horizon. You've earned that. You fought through fear, betrayal, and manipulation. Most people wouldn't have survived what you did. I laughed quietly. I almost didn't survive the cave-in. And yet, here I am, stronger than I ever imagined. It's strange. Sometimes it takes almost losing yourself to realize who you really are. Finn stepped closer, and I noticed the way his presence felt like solid ground beneath my feet. You're not just stronger, Isabella. You're wiser. And you don't have to face the world alone anymore. I let myself absorb that. For so long, I had been isolated, trapped by fear and deceit. Matteo had tried to cage me emotionally, financially, even professionally. But the past was just that, the past. I had reclaimed my life. And now I had someone who truly had my back. We hiked down the trail together, the morning light warming our faces. Every step felt purposeful. Every breath was mine, untethered from lies or manipulation. I glanced at Finn. I don't think I've ever thanked you enough for everything. For being there, for believing in me. He chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You don't have to thank me. I've always believed in you. I just needed you to see it for yourself. We reached the base of the canyon, where the river carved through the rocks like time itself. I knelt to dip my hand in the cold, clear water, feeling the flow wash over me. Freedom. Renewal.
Truth.
All of it. Finn crouched beside me. You're finally free, Isabella. Free to rebuild on your terms, without fear, without lies. I looked at him, realizing that my rebirth wasn't just about surviving Matteo's betrayal. It was about discovering what real partnership looked like: mutual trust, respect, and unwavering honesty. And I couldn't have asked for a better partner to build this new life with, I said, my voice steady, full of certainty. He smiled, taking my hand in his. Then let's build it together. Every step, every challenge, side by side. The sun climbed higher, casting light across the canyon and the winding river below. For the first time in a long while, I felt truly unshackled. Matteo's lies were behind me. My career, my reputation, and my heart were mine again. With Finn by my side, I knew the future was no longer a cave to fear, but a vast landscape to explore. And this time, I would face it not just with courage, but with love, honesty, and someone I could fully trust. The river flowed, the wind carried our laughter, and I finally felt it, the unshakable certainty that my life, rebuilt on truth and loyalty, was exactly where it was meant to be.